What if Darth Vader fell in love with Padme's handmaiden? Let's start the story after the Empire Strikes Back. Darth Vader met Padme's handmaiden, Sabé, after Vader investigates Padme Amidala's life and death. This led him to Naboo, where he discovers a woman who looks identical to Padme, and it's revealed she really is Sabé, Padme's former handmaiden and loyal ally. She is part of a group known as the Amidalas, loyalists dedicated to uncovering the truth about Padme's death and avenging her. When Sabé first meets Vader, she assumes he is here to help her uncover the truth about Padme, and she does not initially realize that he is Anakin Skywalker. Vader manipulates Sabé into aiding him in his quest for answers. During this quest, they investigate the circumstances surrounding Padme's final days. They uncover old recordings of Padme's last moments, including her declaration that there was still good in Anakin. These discoveries affect Vader deeply, forcing him to confront his feelings for Padme and the choices he made that led to her death. As Vader stands in pain by the recording, Sabé realizes the truth, that Vader must be Anakin Skywalker, the man Padme loved. She confronted Vader, asking what he knew of Padme's death. He told her that he did everything he could to save her, but in his quest for power to do so, he was left a shell of the man he once was, stuck in this armor of a prison, and ultimately failed to save Padme after he gave up everything. Sabé sympathizes with this. She can feel the torment from Vader. This is a man who loved Padme dearly, just as much as Sabé did. Sabé felt herself drawn to the man behind the armor. She had seen glimpses of him, the real him, the way his hand lingered on a hollow of Padme, the tremor in his voice when he spoke her name. It is not the Sith Lord she had come to despise, but the broken man within. Burdened by regret and loss, against her will, her heart softened. She saw not the destroyer of worlds, but a shadow of the man Padme Amidala had loved, Anakin Skywalker, a shadow struggling against the darkness. In his rare unguarded moments, Sabé felt the pull of compassion, and slowly that compassion began to stir into something deeper, love. Vader allowed Sabé to see him in this state of vulnerability. If it was anyone else, they'd have to die. But in the stillness of the Naboo night, he found his gaze lingering on Sabé. She stood where Padme once had, her voice carrying the same fierce determination. In her presence, the impenetrable walls of rage began to crack. Sabé's courage and fire reflected that in which Padme had once expressed. For the first time in years, Vader felt a pull not of power, anger or fear, but of compassion, a spark lighting up inside of him once again. He had enjoyed the weeks spent with Sabé, more enjoyment than he'd had in a long time. Their gazes locked, and in that fragile moment, they reached for each other. The scars of their past momentarily give way to the possibility of something new, something they never thought they could feel again. They continued their search around Padme, looking to uncover everything they could about her death, and what happened to her children, Luke and Leia. But Vader and Sabé's relationship changes. They both felt love for each other, bound by the determination of their search. Sabé began to see more and more of Anakin Skywalker instead of Vader, and she started to fall in love with him. Eventually, Sabé confessed her feelings to Vader, that as Padme had also in the past, had fallen in love with the determination and strength of Anakin. Vader mirrored these feelings, telling Sabé that he hasn't felt this way in a long time, since he last saw Padme, and they embrace in a deep hug, confirming their relationship. Vader feels somewhat guilty, confessing his love to Sabé. He promised himself Padme was the only woman he would ever love, but here in front of him was a woman who looked identical to her, but mirrored the fierce determination and strength that Padme once had. Vader knew that Padme would want him to be happy, to move on, and thus started his relationship with Sabé. From here they discuss how to move forward. Vader tells Sabé the truth of how he sought out power to save Padme from his nightmares, but they ended up coming true, regardless, and Sabé helps Vader realize that Sidious used him for his power to defeat the Jedi, and ever since has cast him aside. Vader deep down always knew this, as fact, but didn't have the power to overthrow Sidious. Sabé follows on, telling Vader that they must find his children before Palpatine does, because if he finds them first, then he'll completely cast Vader aside and turn his children to the dark side, corrupting their minds as he did to him. Vader still uses the dark side, but he's been enlightened to Palpatine's manipulations and his anger is directed towards him. His love for Sabé is strong, and he decides to change his goals. Vader tells Sabé that he's already confronted Luke, but he refused to join him. But Sabé tells Vader that's because he came at him from an angle of darkness, of domination, rather than appeal to him through the light and good intentions. She tells Vader that together they can defeat the Emperor. She tells Vader that together Luke and him can defeat the Emperor and save the galaxy, not destroy it or take it for themselves. And if he confronts Luke with this proposition, she is sure that he will join him. Vader thinks on this and agrees. As they work together, Sabé's resemblance to Padme stirs memories and emotions within Vader. More and more Sabé begins to see glimpses of the man Vader once was. Sabé has challenged Vader's loyalty to the Emperor and continues pointing out that Padme wouldn't have wanted this path for him. And together they can change it. They come up with a plan and conclude that Vader will subtly undermine the Empire from within, plant seeds of rebellion, and assist the Rebel Alliance from the shadows. Meanwhile, Sabé will join the Rebel Alliance directly and will be Vader's eyes and ears through this. Together for the next couple of years, they work together. Sabé and Vader see each other once a month and both look forward to this time dearly. Vader passes on Imperial secrets to Sabé, fleet patterns, cargo information, all of which the Rebel Alliance can use to dodge Imperial forces and steal from Imperial cargo to bolster their forces. Sabé attempted to locate Luke Skywalker and set up a meeting between him and Vader, but for these years, Luke has been hard to track down. His location has been secret, only known by those top in the Rebel Alliance. Of course, he was on Dagobah most of the time, training with Yoda. However, Sabé hid from the rebels that she was getting her intelligence from Vader, as she knew the Rebel Alliance would not accept it if they knew where it was coming from. Vader didn't spill any secrets that would have a significant impact, as he knew this would only draw attention to him and increase the likelihood that the Emperor would find out. After a couple of months, Sabé passed on information that Luke has rejoined the Rebel Alliance, freed Han Solo on Tatooine, and feels the rebels are about to make their move against the Empire. Vader leaks to Sabé the location of the new Death Star, who passes it on to Rebel Command. They confirm they have to attack it whilst the Empire is on board, destroying the battle station as well as the Emperor in one go. Vader decides that this will be his final battle, and no doubt Luke will come, and then he will appeal to Luke and join forces with him. The rebels launch their attack on the second Death Star, and Sabé passes through the plans to Vader. Vader thought it was a good plan, that no doubt Luke would go to Endor with the team to disable the Death Star shields. It's a gamble, and Vader decides he'll assist the rebel forces. He travels personally down to the moon and enters the shield bay. Vader knows the rebels will arrive out of hyperspace in 30 minutes, and their goal on Endor is to disable the Death Star shield so the rebel fleet can attack the Death Star. But Vader will help them with this. He sets a timer at the base on Endor to disable the Death Star shields in 40 minutes time, so that even if the rebels don't successfully infiltrate the base and disable the shield, it'll deactivate anyways. Vader goes back to his ship and reaches out with the Force. He can feel Luke is on the planet and knows Luke will feel his presence here as well. The confrontation has been years in the making, and he calls out to Luke through the Force, telling him his location, and he knows Luke will come to him. Vader waits by the entrance of the ship as his stormtroopers bring Luke to him, having listened to him in the Force. Vader starts the conversation, praising Luke's power, that he really is a Jedi Master now, something Vader himself never achieved, and that Luke is more of a Jedi than he ever was. Luke tells Vader that he will use this power the Force has granted him to defeat the Emperor, and implores Vader to join him. In the original timeline, Vader told Luke that he couldn't betray the Emperor. However, in this timeline, they are on the same page. Vader tells Luke that he will join him, that together they can overthrow the Emperor. Luke was surprised by this, but he tells Vader that he will not join him, that they can defeat the Emperor, but will not take over the Empire, and Luke will not join the dark side. Vader pauses and walks over beside Luke, telling him that when they last met, Vader was wrong. He was consumed with anger and pain, but recently, his outlook and goals have started to change due to him meeting with the special someone. Luke pauses, not really knowing what to say, but Vader tells him that once they defeat the Emperor, they can save the galaxy, restore the Republic, and create a new order, one of balance. Luke was stunned. He didn't know what to think. He didn't expect this, and wonders what Vader meant by a special someone, but he'll ask him the details later. Together they enter Vader's ship and arrive on the Death Star. Vader takes Luke to Palpatine and stands next to him. The Emperor is oblivious, welcomes in Luke and dismisses the guards. He tells Luke that he looks forward to completing his training, that in time he will call him Master. But before Luke can say anything, Vader says no, that will not happen, that only he will complete Luke's training. Sidious looks at Vader with hatred, saying that he's finally revealed his treachery. Sidious acted before Vader could move and blasted him with lightning. Vader felt this travel through every cell in his body and concluding at the stumps where his limbs used to be. This temporarily paralyzed him and he couldn't move as Sidious went to blast lightning again, but Luke ignited his lightsaber to block and rushed forward at Palpatine. The Sith Lord did the same and the two engaged in a climactic duel. Luke pushed forward, his strikes relentless. He channeled his emotions carefully, fighting for the future his father had detailed to him. Vader rose, his cape torn and armor smoking. He ignited his blade and joined the fight. They both pressed on, pushing Palpatine to his limits. In his arrogance, Palpatine believed he could defeat both of them. However, he has seen in the Force that Luke had the power to defeat him. Vader reached out with the Force, grasping Sidious and lifted him from the ground. The Emperor's screams of rage filled the chamber as Vader hurled him against the throne with immense force. Luke seized the moment, raising his lightsaber as Vader commanded him to do it now, as Luke brought down his blade with precision on Palpatine, piercing his heart. Sidious let out a final blood-curdling scream as the lightsaber struck, ending his reign of terror. Vader and Luke stood next to each other, happy with their victory. They looked out the window to see the rebel forces were advancing, and they knew they had to escape as soon as possible. They barely escaped in the nick of time, as the rebel forces, led by Lando Calrissian, blow up the Death Star, which was the symbolism of the rebels' victory. Luke brings Vader back with them to Rebel Command to celebrate their victory, but the entirety of the Rebel Alliance freeze when he walks in. But Luke explains how Vader joined their side, that he defected, and they couldn't have won without him. Luke detailed that without Vader, they couldn't have defeated the Emperor, and how he was the one who disabled the shields. Han Solo backed this up, saying the shields were already disabled by the time they arrived. Sabé speaks up, saying that Vader has been her informant the entire time and has been helping with the rebels for many years now. Murmurs scatter as Mothma poses the question whether this undoes all of his crimes, but they conclude they will discuss this at a later time. Meanwhile, Vader and Sabé reunite and hug, both happy that the Empire has been defeated and they can now spend more time with each other. Luke introduces Vader to Leia, who was open to meeting Vader in this timeline after hearing how he had been helping the Rebel Alliance for years and Palpatine couldn't have been defeated without him. The four of them spend the evening together, celebrating their victory and telling stories of their mother Padme, whom both Vader and Sabé loved, but also the future, how Vader and Luke were planning on restoring the Jedi, whilst Leia helped to create the New Republic government. Over the following months, the New Republic established their new government on Coruscant. The Jedi helped with this, and also started the construction of their new temple, in the same location where the previous one was. For now they only had Anakin, Luke and Leia, and they spent weeks establishing the principles of their order and how they would train future Force sensitives. One thing was for certain, is that they would abolish the old Jedi's archaic principles of no attachments and allow Jedi to form relationships and families of their own. Anakin realizes how his lack of training regarding this led to him being corrupted by Palpatine, and he uses this personal experience to help create the new curriculum to give the future Jedi the training he never had. Anakin didn't live at the temple, but rather the senator's apartments with his now wife Sabé, who had just been appointed the senator of Naboo. He can't help but draw back to the past and how the situation they're currently in mirrors that which he lost. His love for Sabé grows as they spend more and more time together. Vader slowly completed his transition back into Anakin Skywalker, and love completely returned to his heart. He felt compassion and kindness, emotions that had been foreign to him for so long, through the help of Sabé. He still loves and thinks about Padme, but his love to Sabé is just as strong, and he looks forward to the life they will lead together. If you enjoyed this video, you have thoughts, what if Anakin fell in love with Aayla Secura or Shaak Ti? Don't forget to check out Fantasy Sabers for the best NeoPixel sabers on the market. We're giving away free sabers for 100,000 subscribers, so help us out there, and may the force be with you.